Hey Rollers, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emma and I'm going to do my March reading update. So if you guys watched my last reading update, you know that I said I'm not doing reading updates until I've read at least 4 books in that combined total of months. So I combined February and January because in January I had only read 3 and then in February I read 3, so 6 felt like a good number. In the month of March I went above 4. I'm going to give you guys some statistics and I also am going to try to make some graphs that like show you like compared to the other months that then I can just update as I go. But in the month of March, I also have my statistics on my phone, so if I'm looking down, that's why. In the month of March, I read 1,318 pages and listened to 14.5 hours of audio, which came to a total of 5 books. My average rating for books was a 4.25 this month. And I also acquired 7 books. If you guys don't know, one of my rules is that I cannot buy books unless I've read 3 physical books off my TBR in that month. And then I set myself a budget and I can buy as many books as I can between any place. And I went on Book Outlet and Amazon and I was able to get 7 books for my budget, which didn't even seem that big, so I'm kind of obsessed. For genres, I read 2 contemporaries, 2 mysteries, and 1 book that I would classify as romance. Although with the exception of 1 book, they all had some sort of romantic element to them. I read 1 audiobook and 4 physical books. All 4 of them were off my physical TBR. I read 2 books for adults, 1 book for new adult, and 2 books for young adult. From what I could find online, all 5 of the authors that I read are actually, it would be 6 because I did read from a writing team. So all 6 of the authors I read from what I could tell, were cisgender. And then for races, I was there were a couple that I wasn't 100% sure on. So if you guys know the actual like race or gender identity of any of these authors, you can let me know in the comments down below so I can get a more realistic statistic for the end of the year. And if I read any of these authors again, which at least 2 of them are on my like TBR to read again. So I think that is it. So let's get started. The first book I read in the month of March was What If It's Us by Becky Alberti and Adam Silvera. This book follows Ben and Arthur. They both are currently living in New York. Arthur is originally from New York and Ben is there for the summer. They meet at a post office and something happens and then they spend some time trying to find each other again and making a relationship work. I did really enjoy this book a lot. I don't even want to say complaints. One of the things that happened in this book, or not happened, something about this book is one of my reading pet peeves that's so weird that I don't think anyone else has it as a reading pet peeve, and it actually happened twice in this month for me, and it happened for the first time in this book. But basically it really bothers me when books age themselves. So I feel like this book could be a very timeless story. I think the idea of showing all different sorts of LGBTQIA+, I believe that's the right acronym now. Anyways, I think those stories are really important. I think it's important to show all different types of stories. And this one shows the story from 2 characters who come from very accepting families. So it really feels like a basic YA story, but like with bigger representation than what you normally see. Like it's a light LGBTQI+ contemporary. And I think that's as important as showing all of the heavy hitting topics, because you are going to get kids who are reading these books that come from all over the spectrum and have all different types of backgrounds. So I think that these books like this are very important. And I think it could be very timeless. But at the same time, it aged itself with pop culture references. I mean, even, I believe I looked at this book after I finished it because it kind of bothered me. And I believe it came out in 2016. No, 2018. 2018. I don't know about you guys, but flash mobs weren't really a thing in my world in 2018 anymore. Like, when I think flash mobs, I think of Friends with Benefits, you know, like when at the end of the movie. That's what I think of when I think flash mobs. And that was a big element in this story, and I'm like, in a few years, I feel like it's going to be high schoolers are going to be Googling what's a flash mob. The other part that kind of aged it though was the Hamilton obsession and the Dear Evan Hansen obsession. So I do think that both of those stories will be big, or both of those shows are going to be big for a long time coming. But like even Hamilton has kind of lost its bigness in the media. Okay, so I'm here editing my video, and you're actually gonna see me hop in 2 other times in a different outfit because it takes me a while to edit videos. But I was just talking about how Hamilton has lost its like bigness in the media. But I filmed this pretty far ahead, like a week or maybe a week and a half before John Krasinski had the original cast of Hamilton on his Good News show. So maybe I'm completely wrong and they're just going to stay huge in media forever. But I kind of thought that was funny. And yeah, so maybe I'm just talking completely, I think I already say it later on, but I think I'm just completely making up my own thoughts and opinions. So sorry if you're a big musical theater person and I totally misrepresented it, I guess. So I almost feel like by centering this book around 2 Broadway shows probably isn't the best thing, especially for them to be 2 newer shows. It's not shows that have been on Broadway forever. I'm not a big Broadway fan, so maybe I'm just talking out of my ass right now, but that just kind of felt like a pop culture reference that could easily age this book in a few years. And that's just something that bothers me in general in novels. It's more often than not, I feel like, seen in YA novels, but I feel like if you're going to make a pop culture reference, you should take something that's like a pop culture reference that is going to stand the test of time and has already stood the test of time. Unless it's like a piece that like it's important for it to happen during that age time. Like there's a book by, I think it's by Jay Asher and someone else, but it's called The Future of Us, and I've loved that book. I want to reread it so badly. But like part of the book takes place in the 70s and then the other part is Facebook, and it like happened, they're like Facebook is exactly 20 years later. So like those kind of pop culture references, you're already referencing the year. That doesn't bother me. But it's something like this where like if you're reading this book, you could imagine that it was taking place today kind of thing. That's when pop culture references bother me. I don't know. Maybe that made no sense to anyone else but me, but that's just kind of how I feel. The other thing that I kind of felt about this book has nothing to do with the book itself or the writing or anything like that. But I do feel like this is a book that I would have preferred to have read, or I would have enjoyed more if I was younger. I feel like if I had read this book at 18, 17, in late high school, I would have given this book 5 stars. It would have been amazing. I would have loved it. There were some really funny parts, but then there were times that I was laughing at how naive these characters were. And I was like, oh my God, but I know that when I was their age, I would have thought it was the cutest thing on the planet. So I feel like this book also is that book that's like right on that cusp of being like harder to read as an adult. I love YA. I have another YA book in my stack. I'm actually reading a YA book right now. I love it, but I just felt like I had grown up a little too much for this book. Overall though, I did give this book 5 stars. Hi, editing Emma here. I actually realized that I misspoke in that last clip where I was saying what I gave What If It's Us. I didn't give it 5 stars, I gave it 4 stars. Still a good rating, but it was not a 5-star read for me. Like I said, I thought it was funny, I thought it was cute. I really liked the more open-endedness of it. I liked the fact that like it was told from 2 different point of views. I can't think of any trigger warnings from this book at all. Alright, so the second book I finished in the month of March was an audiobook for me. I finished Big Little Lies by Liane Moriarty. This book centers around 5 moms who have kids in kindergarten, and there's some drama happening at the school, but at the same time it is all the events leading up to trivia night, and you know something happened at trivia night but you don't know what it is, and you piece it together as you go. I loved this book. I was obsessed with it. I normally, when I could go to the gym, was listening to audiobooks on the treadmill as I walked. This was a book that I started listening to while I was driving to work. I needed to finish it. It was so good. I enjoyed it a lot. I know that some people who are big thriller readers will kind of get annoyed when thrillers are easily predictable. For me, there was one twist that I predicted like right off the bat. I couldn't figure out how it was gonna work, but I got it really easily. But the like who the event happened to, I didn't get that super easily, so I was really excited to kind of be able to figure it out and find out what happened at trivia night. I enjoyed it a lot. I have started to watch on Amazon Prime the HBO show. That I'm not as enjoying as much. So if you've watched it and read the book, can you let me know if it does get better? Because like I bought the first season because you couldn't like just watch it. It wasn't part of Amazon. So I bought it, so I'm gonna finish it. But like I need some motivation to watch it because I'm not as excited about the TV show as I was about the book. Overall though, I gave it 5 stars out of 5. It actually is what I'm qualifying as my favorite book in the month of March. And I actually just started listening to another Liane Moriarty book when I go out for drives. Also, just some trigger warnings for Big Little Lies. It does deal with sexual assault as well as physical abuse, so just be aware of that if you're looking to read it. So the third book I read in the month of March was The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. This was a book on my 5-star prediction video, and I actually vlogged my experience reading this one, and I actually read another one from my 5-star prediction list during the month of March, and I vlogged that. So when I've read all 5 of them, I will compile it and you'll be able to see it. But The Unhoneymooners follows Olive, whose twin sister gets married, and Olive's brother-in-law's brother, would they still be considered brother-in-law and sister-in-law? I don't know. They don't get along. And when everyone at the wedding gets food poisoning, the two of them end up going on her sister's honeymoon. It is a hate to love trope romance, at least that's what people say. And that's actually my biggest issue about this book, is that I didn't really feel the hate to love as much as almost like one-sided hate and then like awkwardness. It was like awkward to love in my mind. I did enjoy it though. I thought it was so cute. And I also thought that there were some really funny moments in it. I also enjoyed the last like maybe 1/6 of the book took place back home after the honeymoon. And when they were first leaving the honeymoon, I was like, how in the world are you gonna tell this much? Like how much is left of the story? Like I couldn't really figure out where the next like 70-ish pages were gonna come from, and then it all made sense and I loved it. I ended up giving it 5 stars, so I was right about this book for my 5-star prediction. And yeah, I talk a little bit more, and I'm gonna go a little bit more in depth in my actual 5-star video on this. The Unhoneymooners, from what I can tell, or what I can remember, does not have any trigger warnings, except maybe some like body image issues, but like it's not big body issues. It's more like she's okay with herself but she thinks someone else isn't kind of issues. So yeah, 5 out of 5. I did DNF a book this month, and this is the book that I DNF'd. It is A Study in Charlotte by Brittany Cavallaro, I think. This is a continuation or a retelling of Sherlock Holmes. Basically, it is told from the point of view of Watson's great-great-great-great-grandson, Jamie, as he goes to a boarding school and meets Sherlock Holmes's great-great-great-great-granddaughter. And while they're at the school, someone starts committing murders that mirror the murders from the original Sherlock Holmes movies, and the two of them decide to solve the mystery together. This book was boring for me. I went on Goodreads and I read some of the reviews afterwards trying to decide if I wanted to finish it, and a lot of people loved it, but I just found it so boring. Like there wasn't a lot happening, and then when something was happening, it was almost like it spiked so quickly and came down so quickly that it didn't even feel like anything was happening. And it was like I don't really like it that much. The other thing I really didn't like though is my favorite thing about Sherlock Holmes characters is when they can observe something and then they explain why it is that. So like maybe they'll see like a man and they'll be like, no, he's like, and like someone will be like, he would never cheat on his wife, and they're like, no, he's like actively cheating on his wife, like because like his like you can see on his middle finger there's the tan line from the wedding ring, and it would be more evened out if he hadn't been wearing it just last weekend when him and his wife went to pumpkin pick, and I can tell that they went pumpkin picking because the dirt on his work boot looks like the dirt that's at the X, Y, and Z farm. Like, when they really explain it out and you're like, that makes so much sense. She would like observe something and it would almost be like what the Watson's character, like, internal monologue would explain it. And I was like, I don't like that. I want her to be like a know-it-all smarty pants. And then there is a romance between the two characters. And it starts, that's not giving anything away. It starts out very early on in the beginning. He's like that male character that becomes possessive over a girl that he doesn't know. I just found their romance annoying. I ended up getting to page 156 and DNFing it. For trigger warnings, there is a little bit of sexual assault and there also is some drug use. And then the final book I read in the month of March. This book I really thought was going to be a 5-star. I was so excited. I've been waiting to read this one. If you guys have watched my channel for a while, you know I love the other 3 books in this series, and I had been looking forward to it for oh so long, and it disappointed me. And that is The Goal by Elle Kennedy. This is the 4th book in the Off-Campus series. The Off-Campus series is a standalone series, so you don't need to read the first one in order to read the next one. But this one follows the 4th roommate. All 4 of the books follow a different roommate. They're all hockey players on a school's hockey team, and it follows the 4th roommate, which is John Tucker, or as his friends call him, Tucker. And I don't want to give too much away, but I will talk a little bit about my issues with this one. So the first thing that is just more taste, I guess, than anything, like my taste compared to, like, it wouldn't be an issue to anyone else, but it bothered me a little bit, was that the end of the 3rd one dropped the bombshell that kind of catalyzed this one, but then you had to go back and relive all the events of the 3rd book from John's point of, or from Tucker's point of view, in order to like understand this one, if that makes sense. Is that me? Amazon just pulled up. Is it for me? Guys, Amazon's here. I ordered a book from Amazon and I'm waiting for it, because then I would have 6 out of my 7 books, and then I could actually do a haul, probably wearing what I'm wearing right now. Okay, no, Amazon was going to my neighbors. But I didn't really enjoy the whole reliving of events that already happened, especially because there was a very sad event in the 3rd one and you had to relive it. And I didn't like that. I didn't enjoy the female lead in this book. She has a trope that I don't dislike, but the thing is, like, often in this trope, they kind of grow, their character grows out of it. She never grew out of it. Even in the last pages, she was like holding on to that trope real hard. And I didn't like her, and all I wanted to do was read stuff from Tucker's point of view, because Tucker probably is my favorite roommate. Like, when it comes to like favorite roommates, it probably at this point is Tucker, Garrett, Dean, Logan, which I know is controversial because a lot of people's favorite is Logan. I'm sorry. Like, I loved Tucker. He was like a Southern gentleman. He was so sweet. He loved her so much. It was so cute. But like, I just couldn't stand her, and I didn't think she deserved him. There were a lot of times too, like, in my opinion, the book probably could have ended, well, let me find it. It probably could have ended here. Like, this last like 100 pages was not needed in my mind. Okay, so earlier when I was talking about how I don't like when pop culture references feel like they age books, this happened in The Goal as well. It actually happened in the original book, The Deal, and it kind of bothered me then, but this one really bothers me, and it's because it references the old social media app Yik Yak. Like, I had forgotten about that app until it was talked about in this book. If you don't know what it is, it's basically was like an anonymous Twitter, so like people would share things anonymously, and it was big on college campuses, and then it moved to high schools, and then it got blocked by high schools because it was like promoting bullying basically. And that's not what it's used for in this book, but it's so old. And like, I feel like there are so many kids who would have no idea what Yik Yak is now. And this is a new adult book, so maybe kids aren't reading it, but eventually people might. And it's just so old. Like, that one bothered me a lot more than like the Hamilton or the Dear Evan Hansen or the Flash Mobs did. So overall, I ended up giving it a 3-star. It is definitely, and like the other ones were like high 4 stars or 5 stars. This was a low 3 star. Like this was almost a 2.5. That's how low it was for me. I was so disappointed. So those are all the books I read in the month of March. If you have any recommendations from books you read in the month of March, let me know in the comments down below, as well as what was your favorite book in the month of March. All right, I will catch you guys later. Bye. Oops, my hair's in my shirt. My name is, I forgot my phone. Actually, I'm gonna just edit it in. That's a spoiler.